For those of you that are new, welcome. And if those that come back every week, I appreciate you. Thank you for always being here and supporting this process of learning and sharing and interacting and really enhancing our own leadership and skill sets while we grow together. For those that don't know me, I'm Karen Kleinwort, and I am your host, not just every Tuesday morning, but of this group, the Small Business Strategies and Solutions for Women-Owned Businesses. And my intention with this group is to provide you this safe space to come to post your questions, connect with other people, ask for feedback and input on what's going on in your business, to take advantage of these weekly live trainings, and to also just really allow yourself to be vulnerable and raw. And if you were around on Saturday, then you likely caught my moment of vulnerability that I shared with you as a group. It was an epiphany I had from the night before that I thought, if I'm experiencing this, if I'm just kind of coming to this realization, then there's got to be others in the group that are doing it as well. And I just wanted to share that no matter what, we've all been there, right? We've all been in that starting point. We've all gone through the growth piece. We've all fallen. We've gotten back up, right? It's never just this straight linear growth and path of success. We are kind of doing the spaghetti noodle, roll around, dump it on the floor kind of thing and pick it back up. So this group is really about providing you that space to do that. And for today, what we want to talk about are our brand principles. And this was triggered in two ways for me for this topic. Because honestly, like even Saturday, I didn't quite know what I was going to be talking about or wanting to share with you and to kind of give you some new skill sets or new points of view or conversation topics for you to have within your own team. And I'm in the middle of taking this certification on brand management. And it's through the University of London. And my professor on Sunday was sharing about, kind of brand principles. And I'm like, oh, this is really important. And it's more than just our core values, right? Like we've talked about our core values before. We've talked about how our values need to be in alignment with what we create, what we develop as a business, and how we grow our business. But the principles are it's not just another way to say it, it's actually a little bit different, right? There are guiding principles. It's everything is intertwined into everything that we do and create and interact with within our business. And it starts with your brand story. And so, like my brand story goes back years. And I was sitting thinking about this, when I thought I was all ready. Obviously I wasn't all ready, note to self. But, and I was thinking about, when did my brand story begin? Where are my roots? Because when we're talking principles, it's rooted in our foundation. It's rooted in our beginning, the beginning of our story. And so to take you back, like my brand story really begins, and I'm seriously going to age myself here, so bear with me, in 1987. I was heading into my senior year of high school. I was going to be graduating the June of 1988, and we had to pick colleges. Yes, right, so Nicole's saying her values really started to evolve during her first year of business. Exactly, right? So back in like my senior year of high school, and you have to think this is a long time ago, right? Like we're talking quite a few years ago. The student counselor had a meeting with my parents. And now a little bit of backstory, like my parents, my dad finished high school in grade 10. He didn't actually graduate. He went on to become a police officer and, worked in his family business, the greenhouses. My mother grew up in Newfoundland. She graduated high school, but that was grade 11. They only had it till grade 11 at that point. And then she moved to Ontario and she became this, if you know Ontario grocery stores, Dominion, right? It's big on in Ontario and in Newfoundland. For Dominion, she kind of became their new store manager, go-to person, where she was tapped to kind of go to a new location and open up the store and get it all set, or she would be sent to another store and kind of get it turned around and kind of get their people, more motivated. And so when you think about that, like that was obviously way before my time, right? Like my parents were quite young, but this is where my brand story really begins, because when we start talking about the principles in a few minutes, you're going to see how it's all connected. So now fast forward to high school, for me, the student services person, told my parents, who now you have a backstory for them, that there are 3 types of people. So bear in mind what he's about to say to them. There's 3 types of people. There's, and in Canada, university is 4-year, college is a 2-year, okay? There's 3 types of people. There's the first that go on to university, so 4 years, and they are white-collar workers, and they become hugely successful, and they impact the world. This is his words. I remember them so clearly. Then the second type is, those are our tradespeople, and they go to college, and they kind of fill in that blue-collar level workforce. And then there's the third type of person, which doesn't really amount to anything, and they just kind of, work at McDonald's. Those are the 3 types of people in their mind as a student service counselor that they're now telling parents of a grade 12 young woman who's about to go and embark on the world. And he said to them, I think Karen is going to be number 3. You have to accept the fact that she will not do anything with her life, that she will go, this gets emotional, right? Because this is where my brand starts. She will be a burger flipper. This is what she will do. So imagine a woman, my mother, who now my parents own a store, wildly successful in our hometown, has to hear that her daughter is going to be a burger flipper from somebody who supposedly knows her daughter maybe better than she does. So, right, Nicole, you can't believe he said that. And it was so impactful. I was like bound and determined. I was like, when my parents came home and told me that, I was like, no effing way. Is he going to dictate my story? No way. So now, did he do it on purpose? So you have to get reflecting back. Did he say those words on purpose to motivate me, knowing who I was, knowing whose child I was, right? So my parents were super impactful in our community, et cetera, et cetera. So I was bound and determined. I applied to 6 different colleges. So remember, in Canada, college is a 2-year program. And I got into all 6. And so I chose the one that was furthest away from my home. Why? Because I wanted to show them, you're not going to tell me what I'm going to become. And so I finished my 2-year program. I became a personal trainer while then going into a 4-year degree program, and while working full time. And I was the youngest personal trainer at this organization, and I was the only one they've ever hired that didn't have a 4-year degree. I was making that much impact in their business that they took me on, right? So, and then things started to unfold. But that's where my brand story starts. So fast forward to today, the principles, the passion I have for the women's business resource community, like the village that I'm building and launching, right? The 3 top principles for this community is 1, community, 2, accessibility, and 3, can you guess it? Empowerment. I don't ever want any woman to be told, no matter what age, she's not capable, that she can't set her goals bigger than what her current environment might offer. So think about that. When you are looking at your brand, what are your principles? We've taught core values, but what is your brand story? Where did it start? And what are the words that describe that? And so I'm going to show you. This is how I kind of do stuff. So look, this is my worksheet. Look at a list like 4 columns long of words. Just a mind dump of words. When I'm thinking and I'm doing the work about what we're building and what I want to bring to the world and the change I want to make, I'm going to do the mind dump and I'm going to say, what is in my head that I can't articulate properly? So I want to ask you guys right now, reflecting on your brand story, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think, when did it start? I honestly didn't think mine started until like 2006 when I actually started my company. That's when I thought my brand story started. And then I started doing some work, right? Because the work requires you to ask questions. I then realized my brand story started when I was a senior in high school. And maybe even before that. But that is the Ross moment that had the biggest impact. So I want you to think about it. Take a minute. Think about, when did your brand story truly begin? Truly begin. Not just when you started your company. If you're making products, not just when you started that hobby or side hustle or making those products. Because something motivated you to start the business, to start doing, to start going and creating and developing. I'm going to show you. So behind me, I got to go the right direction here. This way. See this? These are my sticky notes. So when I'm creating, this is what I'm doing. I'm putting sticky notes with one words and I'm sticking them on the wall so I can rearrange them as necessary, right? Again, another form of brain dump, right? Active projects on the go, what I'm working on, right? What are the tasks I need to do associated with it? Find what works. So Nicole's saying, I think I got diagnosed with ADHD 4 years ago. I finally got to discover who I really was. It was kind of like, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth or in your perspective, but it kind of sounds like it was like this veil, like you were kind of living behind a veil and you weren't really seeing clearly. You couldn't see or gain clarity on anything. And then once you get that diagnosis, it's kind of like this, whew, now I'm not living behind a veil anymore. Like now I see life for real. And I want to challenge that word diagnosis. We often hear, I was diagnosed, right? My child is diagnosed with this, I was diagnosed with that. Is there another word we can use? Because diagnosis, as simple and as real as it is and as clear it is as it can be, is there another word we can use instead that doesn't sound so medical but more empowering to discovery? I discovered that I think differently and it just so happens to be, right? So ADHD, attention deficit, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, something? I can't remember exactly what the H stands for now that I'm saying it, right? So you can break it down. No, you'll be able to tell us. It'll come up. I'll remember when the live is over. So thinking about where your brand hyperactivity, yes, okay. Thank you. So thinking about where your brand story began, what was that trigger? There's an emotion attached to that initial launch, that initial element, that initial experience. What was the emotion? And it's that emotion that's going to drive the principles. So we'll use the Women's Business Resource Community as our example today, right? So the 3 guiding principles are community, accessibility, and empowerment. Why are those so important? Going back to the story origin, I didn't feel I had a community where I was to support me to go after what I wanted. So what did I do? I moved away to find my community. I had to leave the village I knew and find a new village. And I did. And then that community, that college experience, I'm still super close with a handful of women that I went to college with. So community, right? So to me, it was about making sure I was part of that community. I needed a community because I didn't feel I was part of the community where I was at. I wasn't supported. 2, the other guiding principle is accessibility. So I want things to be accessible. I don't want to have women feel like things are out of reach, that they're not going to, quote unquote, be able to afford to do what the bigger companies provide. Accessibility means at your fingertips, ready to go. Right? The 3rd one is empowerment. I want every single woman who becomes part of the village, when they wake up in the morning going, I've found my tribe. I'm in my community. It's accessible to me 24 hours a day. I can feel the support. I can get the resources I need. And because of that, I feel empowered that I can get up and do what I want to do today because I have the wind at my back with this community. So everything we create within the village platform has to go through those 3 filters. Does it reinforce the community perspective? Does it reinforce the accessibility? If it doesn't allow accessibility, then it's not going to be part of the platform. If it's not going to empower each and every person that joins us, then it's not going to be part of the platform. So for your business, what are your 3 guiding principles that every decision you make filters through, that you have to check the box beside each and every one? So as I've been talking, you've all been thinking about, what are my guiding principles? I know what my values are, and they can be very similar, right? One and the same. In the comments, share one of your guiding principles that you know every business decision you make filters through that principle. So thinking about your 3 principles, integrity. So Nicole's saying integrity. One of her 3 guiding principles is integrity. So every decision she makes within her business is going to go through, and it has to check that box. Am I being integral? Is what I'm offering integral? Super important that whatever your guiding principles are, every decision you make for your business gets filtered through those principles. Now, it may come up with, the community, right? So our guiding principles, community has to support that community element. If all of a sudden I'm looking at an option that is not about community, but it's about individualism, will it still work? So thinking about that, right? So on the platform, as a neighbor, right, as a subscriber at the neighbor level, you are dripped out content every 2 weeks. And it's a coaching content, so it's like self-directed coaching. So you're dripped out. That's individual. But the content is about you building your business, is about you reflecting on your boundaries and how to implement different strategies. But it's part of a bigger community. Why? It checks the box because you're sharing in the group element. You've got a community to take what you're learning and share and interact within it. So it may not look and sound on the outside that it meets that checkbox, but it's the interaction too. So when you're thinking of your 3 guiding principles and your decisions, it may not look and feel exactly like the principle, right? And be okay with that. Start to kind of break down what is the decision you want to make or you need to make that's not checking one of your 3 principle boxes. But yet you feel, you know in your heart that this is an important piece for your community, for your followers, for your customers, for your clients, that you offer this. There will be an alignment somewhere. You just may not have thought about it. But if it is that important to you, this decision that you're about to make is that important to you and you feel it, but yet you don't see how it's checking the box on one of your guiding principles, take some time to reflect on it and make sure. So the reflection piece, that's where I want to start. Oh my God, it's like 11:30. Sorry guys. This might be a little bit longer, but it's super important. So when you're reflecting on and trying to decide, right? Brain dump here, right? Remember? You want to ask yourself 3 questions. And by answering these 3 questions, you're going to start to feel, remember this is important now because we've broken down the value piece into a feeling. You want to know and feel the answers. So the first question is, and this is going to be for some of you super easy, right? What business are you in? What is your business? This isn't like I'm going to, help somebody do emails, or I'm going to create a logo. I am going to teach somebody how to dance. That's what you do, but what does your business do? So for the Women's Business Resource Community, our village, what we do is we educate and we empower. That's what we do. That's why it's so important that we filter through, because that's what we do. We educate and we empower. So that's your first question. What business are you in? It's not what you do. What business are you in? We're in the business of educating and empowering. Second question. What would the world look like without you? If you didn't have your business, what would the world look like? So without your business, what does it look like in your world? And this isn't just you personally going, oh, I wouldn't have anything to do, or I wouldn't have an income. This is, what would the world look like? So for the Women's Business Resource Community, the world would look like the only solution available for small businesses are the big ticket items, out of budget items, and the larger corporations for an all-in-one solution. That's what the world would look like. And that's not okay with me, because that means it's not accessible to everybody. And that's why our second guiding principle is accessibility. So what would the world look like without your business? So Nicole is saying her business helps mompreneurs grow their business and be more productive. So you're in the business of what, Nicole? That's what you help people do. But what are you in the business of doing? So growing their business. We're in the business of what? Improving productivity, efficiency, serving. Yeah. So you are in the business of serving and producing, possibly, off the top of my head. All right. So thinking about that, what would the world look like without your business in it? That's the second question you want to ask yourself as you're gaining clarity around these branding, like your brand principles. The third question: what forces you to succeed? What forces your brand to succeed? So what forces us to succeed for the Women's Business Resource Committee is by providing a budget-friendly solution for small businesses. That's what's forcing us to succeed, because if we don't become successful, if we don't meet our goals, if we don't do our job, quote unquote, then there's not going to be a budget-friendly, all-in-one solution for small businesses to succeed and thrive. And that's heartbreaking to think about. So, what business are you in? Not what you do, not what you create. What business are you in? And it's going to be an action word, so the inging, the ing, right? Educating, empowering, serving. It's going to end in ing, right? What would the world look like without you? As hard as that is, what would it look like without you? Only big ticket budget items. Not okay with me. And then the third one, what forces us to succeed? What is forcing you to succeed in your business? Okay, those are the 3 reflection questions that when you're thinking of your brand principles and you're creating, my mom clients would be more stressed, yes, right? Stress levels go up. Overwhelm goes up. Lack of productivity, right? Lack of effectiveness, efficiency. All of a sudden, it's all of those things. Yes, absolutely, Nicole, right? So that's the reflection piece. And so now once you understand those connections of your brand principles and how you make a difference and how you are able to find this clarity around what you do, what business you're in, guess what? Now you get to start saying, how's this aligned with my audience? How do they know that we're doing this? How do I share these principles? Through my content, right? We communicated through our content. And that was the one clarity that when I was working through all of this, that I realized we're doing a great job of sharing kind of what they get from the community, that it's accessible, but we were missing the piece of empowerment. How are these women going to feel empowered by being part of our community, part of our village? And so all of a sudden in the last 2 or 3 days, our language is starting to change to ensure that we are aligning with our audience on the empowerment piece, right? So how are you taking that reflection and applying it to your audience when you're creating content? What are you saying? So for us, it was the visual. We were doing storytelling, but we're now doing it more than we were before. We're telling stories in our content where we're showing the before and after, the this versus that, right? We're answering the who, what, where, when, why, and how questions. So when you gain clarity around those guiding principles, and you know exactly the feeling from the triggering moment of your brand story that where it originated, right? You take that and you are able to apply it to these brand principles, and those are your filters. So based on that, that's kind of, we got a little bit deep. We talked a little bit about certain things. What questions do you guys have around your brand principles? The alignment, the content creation, the introduction of it. So it's okay if there's no questions, because if you're like me, you end up going kind of into this deeper thought, and then it'll be about an hour later where you're like going, oh, I have this question. Oh, I never thought of it this way. I need clarity on this. So when you're thinking about it, allow yourself to kind of do that brain dump of all the things that you think are your principles. Don't limit it, right? So like our 3 guiding principles are the community, accessibility, and empowerment. But we also have 3 sub principles, right? Resourcefulness, innovation, and being authentic. So why are they important? Well, they're important because we want to be the resource, but we have to be resourceful, meaning we have to continue to learn ourselves and bring on experts so we can continue to be that resource for other women, but expand our own resourcefulness, right? We need to be innovative. We can't be the followers in our village. We have to be the leaders. We have to be that lighthouse for everybody else. We have to be innovative. And then we have to be authentic. So thinking about that, you don't have to just have it just to 3 words when you're thinking of your guiding principles. It can be more than that, but you have to absolutely know what your top 3 are. If not, then you'll never get past the check boxes that we were talking about in the beginning, right? Okay. So again, I apologize for the hiccup in the beginning, the whole, I don't know what was going on with my computer. We were live and then we weren't live, and I don't know what happened, but we got back on. And if any of you have any questions, drop them in the comments. As usual, if I don't see them right away, if I don't respond in a timely manner, please slide into my DMs and let me know that you've popped in and posted a question so I can respond. Additionally, the special that we're offering for all new neighbors over in the Women's Business Resource Community at the GetBizSavvy.com Village platform is that if you register by midnight, April 31st, so tomorrow night, that you get a free coaching session, one-on-one coaching session. So that will go away starting May 1st. So if you haven't joined us as a neighbor, I highly encourage it. If you've got questions about that, ask me as well. Let's see. I think that is it. Kind of waiting to see if any of you guys have questions. Tomorrow, I am actually leading a workshop on AI, using it ethically within our businesses. So I will kind of share some information that comes out of that workshop. That's for a local business group here that I'll be presenting that at and using that. Thursday is the Lunch and Learn. We are doing, oh God, now I can't remember. I'd have to look. Hang on. I can't even look because of my, what is the Lunch and Learn on? Audience, your avatar. It took me a minute. Oh my gosh. I should have written that part down. So Thursday's Lunch and Learn at noon Eastern is on gaining clarity around your avatar. You're going to have a workbook. Whoever joins us for that, there will be a workbook that you can download and be using while we're in the workshop. So it is a live interactive workshop where you'll be actually working through the steps to find clarity on your perfect avatar, your perfect client. So, okay. So covered the Lunch and Learn, covered the end of the month special for the neighbor level, and I think that's it. Okay. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your patience with the technology hiccup earlier. And I look forward to seeing all of you on Thursday for the Lunch and Learn. Okay, have a great day. Thanks, everybody.